Hello, everyone. So if we're talking about the self-confidence, we need to realize that self-confidence is not absolute. It's always relative. It's relative to the situation where the individual finds himself. Like we all remember these movies when Arnold Schwarzenegger finds himself in the kindergarten, where he's supposed to be a kindergarten teacher. And he loses his self-confidence at the first time because this is an unusual situation for him. And I would claim that there is no man on earth that would be confident in any particular environment, any particular situation. And on the other hand, the person which is not confident at all always will have the safe environment, which is usual to this person, where this person will be actually quite confident. All right. So understanding that, it's very important to develop the self-confidence as a function of certain circumstances and certain environments. Like a lecturer should be confident when he is giving a lecture, right? But if he needs to milk a cow and he never did it before, he will probably lose all his confidence and his skills will be irrelevant, isn't it, in such circumstances? And on the other hand, if the person was milking the cow all his life and all of a sudden is supposed to speak publicly, that might be a problem with self-confidence. Obviously, in order to achieve anything, we need to be confident enough. We all remember if we found ourselves in the foreign country where our language is not comprehended well, and we need to use the foreign language, how uncomfortable we might feel to do the simplest tasks, like buying coffee, like ordering some food, because we find ourselves in the situation which is not usual to us. So how we can prevent that, or how we can boost our confidence, we can do this through repetitive situations where we can get used to something that was out of our comfort zone, right? And we can do it with less stress by planning to emerge ourselves in such particular situations. For example, with the example of the language, we can find the situation where we can safely communicate in this particular language prior to our departure to the country where we might need this language to be used. So we can get used to how people speak, how people express themselves, to learn more about this culture, to prevent the cultural shock, the language shock, and any prudent, reasonable man or lady would do this to boost their self-confidence, right? The same is with the new jobs, the job interviews, the new functions at the job. You can get an excellent education. You can take all trainings in the world. But if you lack the self-confidence, you will never be hired, because that's what we are seeking when we are looking for the new employers. You need to be confident. And how you build the confidence without having the opportunity to make this new environment familiar to you. You need to create the situations and events where you will have the opportunity to talk, to discuss, to use the terms to gain this experience that will allow you to feel comfortable with the new environment. I can remember myself, I used to work at the ambulance when I was really, really young. And they had their own sort of slang. None of their slang was clear to me. They called all the things with their own words. And I felt like clueless how to communicate to dispatcher and all this, 10-4, which means okay, Roger, 10-4, and other things. You don't know these things until you learn. In our times, it's much easier to find these opportunities, and sometimes we just plainly forget to do this. It's all on YouTube. We can find different videos and explanatory blogs that will tell us all those things that in old times we had to find only through our hardly gained experience, right? So we will be talking how to arrange that, but first of all is the realization. In anything that we need to achieve, we need self-confidence. It doesn't matter whether it's a job or it's a personal matter or it's any other kind of task that we have decided that we need to take part in. We need to train ourselves before that to make the situation more familiar to us and to feel in this situation more comfortably. All right, so obviously we try to postpone anything that can cause us stress. Nobody, well, there are some people that are trying to get as much stress as they can for adrenaline, but normally we don't like to be out of our comfort zone. And that's where we come to the problem that we think of everything that should be done now. We think that we'll do it one day. One day I'll write a book. One day I'll get married. One day I'll be rich. One day I will be blah, blah, blah. And the answer to that is start being now. There is no tomorrow. There is only here and now. Now and here. Don't buy these excuses that first you need to graduate from university, first you need to do this or that. No, we need to start right now and right here. Nothing should be postponed or delayed without valuable, reasonable justification. Of course, like you cannot get married today if you don't know any partner that you would be interested in marrying or that would be interested in marrying you. So your decision should be delayed then until the times that you achieve this. But the decision to make the first steps towards the purpose that you have decided is valuable enough to achieve should be done right now and right here without a delay. And there is no reasons not to do that. If you decided on something, just go ahead and do the research. Learn as much as you can about the topic that you would like to pursue with right now. Learn everything that you can. YouTube videos, Google, any sources of information. All right. Now, but before we do that, we need to ask ourselves what's really our purpose is. Is it valuable enough to invest our efforts? Do we have enough justification why we need to achieve this or that? First of all, what is valuable in one's eyes might be not valuable in others. So advisors might not help in such situation. You want to have a beautiful house. That's your dream. And your advisor might have had this house in the past. He knows a lot of shortcomings that would come with the huge house and costs and headaches, and he might try to pursue you that this is a bad idea. Don't listen. There are no really valid purposes in this life unless you decide so. As a matter of fact, we have a huge difficulty to explain the real reason to exist. And therefore, whatever you feel like your purpose, you should designate as your purpose. But you need to define it. Because always remember, if you set sail and go out of the port, even with highly equipped ship, if you do not have the destination, this trip is destined to fail. You need to know where you go. You need to define as good as you can what is the ultimate purpose that you have in this or another area of your life. And when you did define this purpose, then you can set up the priorities. Of course, the purposes can be, the targets can be different. So you need to build the priorities using these targets. What should come first? What should come second? And another thing is that don't think of that as something written in stone. You can change those priorities. You can change those targets from time to time to review them. And there is no shame to withdraw one purpose and replace it with another. All right? So when we have determined what is our purpose and what we actually want to achieve, we need to seek the win-win position, win-win situation. And it's not that hard to find the ways how both outcomes of any query will end up with you having the winning position. Like, if you're pursuing something and you will get it, you will be the winner. But if you don't get it, for some reason, you need to find the reasons why you will be the winner either. Like, if I'm getting this contract, I will be the winner. I will have a lot of money, a lot of work to do. But if I do not get this contract, I will be the winner because I won't have such huge responsibility on my shoulders. I will not be in the position where I really depend on things that are beyond my control. I will not be put in the situation where I have to be in a constant stress. So both outcomes will make me happy. And such an attitude allows us to be 100% self-confident. yes, I want this project, but if I don't get it, I will be as happy as if I do get it. Because in both cases, there are pluses and minuses, pros and contras. So it's very important, because when you bet all your life on a certain outcome, you cannot be confident. You are dependent on the outcome. And actually, even if you don't show, you're actually begging to give you the positive outcome. And people feel it. And the whole environment feel it around you. And you will never get what you want. Because everybody is looking for confident people and not begging people, not those that are not confident and dependent on the outcomes. Now, we are coming to the dependent positions. We need to avoid dependent positions. We cannot be completely independent. We live in a society where we all depend on someone's decisions. And it's mutual. Even if you're a landlord, you depend on the behavior and attitude of your tenants. If you're a tenant, you behave mutually. You depend on the attitudes of your landlord. The same is employer and employee. Even though usually we think that in the position of power, and we think of landlord as a position of power, and employer is a position of power as well. Parent is the position of power. We think we have more freedom. But as we know, sometimes we can end up in a dependent position, even being in the position of power. So we need to learn to analyze the situation and find the ways how to get us out of the situation when we depend on someone's decisions, on someone's goodwill. We need to realize that it's even better not to get something rather than be in a dependent situation where you have zero control on an outcome. And avoid this at all costs, and probably try to replace yourself with somebody else that would face such dependent position rather than being by yourself in such position. Now, we already talked about the failures. We need to learn to use any outcome to our advantage. And that's important in planning process. Even before we start anything, we just have to plan for the failure, plan for the success, and to find the things that can be implemented in the case of failure. And sometimes the failure might be the new driving force for future success. And in most cases, that's what it is. In my life, 10 ideas, 10 business ideas would yield only one successful project, and 9 would fail or even didn't start. Am I a bad entrepreneur? Not necessarily. If you talk to anybody else, you'll find out the same things. There are a lot of uncertainties in the business world that do not allow to accomplish whatever you plan to accomplish. About fake it until you make it. Well, this have the moral aspects to it, because someone says you need to be honest and you shouldn't fake it. I agree with that, because when you fake it, at one point or another, you will get caught. At one point or another, it will become obvious that pretending to be someone and not being someone obviously would be disclosed. But if you fake it for this moment and you are planning to get there and not just seem to be, but actually to become one, that's why the motto on our diplomas of Krieger research says in Latin, ESSE, QUAM, VIDERI, which means in Latin to be rather than to seem. So that what it means is that, as an example, all right, someone is asking you, are you familiar with something at the interview? And you're not very familiar, but you understand that you can become very familiar. It's a better strategy to say, yes, I am, and I'm willing to learn. And I will even learn more. And when you have a chance, go ahead and learn it. Now, we need to treat ourselves as we treat our computers. Like, all computers are more or less equal. They have different abilities because of how much memory you put, what processor is, but more or less, most of the tasks can be achieved on most of them. The same are we. Someone is so-called smarter, someone less smart. It all depends what programs you have to accomplish the tasks. If you have certain tasks that are in a good agreement with your purposes, and you do not have the certain skills, it's not a problem. You can either delegate it to those that have skills or just to gain those skills. And sometimes you can start with delegating the skills, looking at others doing whatever you're supposed to do, and then taking over in part or entirely on the process. I know the guy who got hired as a programmer, not knowing nothing about programming, and he outsourced this job right away. He was gaining very small percentage, but at one point or another, he started to take more and more. Now he ended up being a programmer because he learned everything around it. Guess what would happen if he wouldn't start that way? Nothing would happen, right? And we cannot blame on him such a start of his career. So we need to treat our self-confidence as a psychological issue. And we can boost it through creation of the supportive environment, internal and external. We feel unconfident with things that are not familiar to us. So we need to expose ourselves to the same things. Like, there is a need to do something that you are completely unfamiliar with. But you know that a human has the ability to get familiar with anything. There is actually nothing that humans do that other humans cannot understand, basically. We need to understand this very simple thing, that even most complicated scientific theories or technological advances are comprehensible by other humans. and can be brought down to the plain, easy explanation, which will be a stepping stone to get a deeper knowledge in this or another area of human knowledge. So it's very important to expose yourself. Again, with today's life, here is an example. If you want to, if you need to get knowledge in a certain area, you can position yourself as a potential client for the company that provides such services. And in the introductory session, they will tell you a lot and they will answer all your stupid questions because they would expect you to be their client. Or as a video blogger, you can contact people that potentially having the needed knowledge that you need to know, and you can record the talks and ask them the questions and do the interviews, and you can compensate them. You're going and spending thousands of dollars to take trainings. It's okay, you can offer $100 for an hour. But in this hour, after you will prepare yourself, talking to a specialist with a degree in this area will boost your self-confidence like nothing else. When you will feel that you are speaking the same language, that you can use and understand the terminology, that you actually is supported with what he says, and you are working on the same level as a professional do, will boost your self-confidence up so much that later on you will be able to get any position in this area as a consultant or something, at least as a stepping stone to the better career chances. So here we come to finding ad hoc. Ad hoc means for that very purpose, right? Right for this purpose. Right sources, the right people, and the right events that will boost your self-confidence. If you start the need to understand in certain area, initiate the talks with people that are working in this area. Take first deep into the terminology, take the basic knowledge, and go ahead right away and talk to people. Talk to people from certain profession, certain experience, ask your stupid questions, learn more, then talk to other people. And how you make people talk? You can pay them. These things are way more valuable than years in going to study in different programs. They graduate after these programs and they cannot do or say even basic things. They don't have any confidence. But when you actually work with or talk with people that actually is participating in a certain activity, this boosts your self-confidence. This creates the supportive network that you can use later on, saying, oh yeah, I know Professor such and such. Oh yeah, we talked with the doctor that, and he told me this, right? And that would be truth, because we're all humans. We all can communicate and help each other and comprehend, at least in the basic form, whatever others do or tell. But as I said, it's not enough to do it once. we need to get used to terminology, explanations, the way how people in this or other profession talk and think, plan things, explain things. The repetition is the key to this. So always try to make it as a series of meetings, of interviews, contact a couple of companies as a potential client. That's the best way if you're applying for a job, to contact the similar company, posing yourself as a client and listen to what the most experienced people in this industry would tell you. And then you can impress your prospective employer how familiar you are with their competition, with all the arguments that are used by other professionals in this area, right? But here is very important to do the reality check and to delegate the things to others that are really more professional than you are. Because there is such a thing that self-confidence can be poisonous. It creates the illusion that you know and can when you actually cannot. And that's why you always have to do the reality check and remember that everything that you have gained as a knowledge doesn't allow you to actually do the things that you were talking about, because that's the difference between the profession and the consultant that refers to this profession or working with these professionals. So always be ready to delegate things to those who are accredited and licensed and able to provide certain services. Be a yes person. In most cases, try to say yes. Do you want to start a company? Yes. Do you want to try this? Yes. Will you be able to do that? Yes. Because when you say yes, it opens you the new opportunity and abilities. When you say no, you close all the opportunities. But be cautious and prudent. If they say, let's sell the drugs, say no, no. Like, be reasonable. But in most cases that do not hint on being incarcerated or killed or seriously damaged financially, say yes. And keep the way to withdraw if you don't like where it leads. Never punish yourself and be positive. Life is just a game. We need to remember that for the self-confidence, the previous failures can be very toxic. Sometimes we see people that when they're young, they are way more entrepreneurial and taking more very risky moves. And more they fail, less than inclined to continue with such way of behavior. Never punish yourself. In most cases, the failure is none of your fault. In most cases, it's all about luck. That's what explains why we have so many stupid people having so much wealth. They can be just lucky. Opportunities can rain on them, and they can do very stupid things and still keep the money. On the other hand, you can be brilliant, you can be sharp, but you won't get these opportunities ever. You won't be able to accomplish anything without luck. And this factor of luck is not actually accounted. And therefore, never punish yourself for the failure. Be positive. And remember that there are no ultimate victory in life. We all die in the end. We all become nothing. And our legacy is very questionable either. So overall, all these psychological, philosophical, and mundane arguments can boost our self-confidence and lead to a better conduct in life, in business, and make us more successful and healthier in all possible ways. All right, any questions, guys?